Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scoutser's Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser. It's Monday morning. As always, we're brought to you by Reckless Coffee Roasters. So thanks to those guys at Reckless for kind of like picking up the tab and supporting us with their coffee. Most importantly, it's Monday, so Grumpy is here, grumpier than freaking ever after yesterday. And as always, Matush is here. What is happening? How are we recovering?
Slowly. I'm really glad the eclipse is happening today because I could just stare into the fucking sun and burn my eyes out. That's where I'm at right now. So yeah, we're good.
That's right. That is happening today, isn't it?
Yeah.
What time? Our time?
Our time it starts roughly like after 12:30 and ends roughly before 4. Is the range that I've gathered from the interwebs, but I could be completely wrong.
Okay. We are in Chicago, by the way, if you're joining us through Instagram Live or Facebook, YouTube, whatever. So our time is going to be a lot different. So 12:30ish, you said? I don't have
Yes.
glasses, though. Do you have glasses to check it out?
No, which is perfect, which is why I can burn my eyes out. I don't have to see anything anymore. I don't
The
have to
biggest
watch
thing
the
I heard
game.
is like the dogs freaking out.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I think people are freaking out too. That could be worse.
I guess. I
But
mean, which mine freak out very easily anyway. They were really freaking out that we couldn't finish yesterday. But man, a lot to talk about yesterday's game and stuff. But um yeah, that was kind of like painful. I mean, we talked about a lot in the post match, and I'm sure we'll analyze the hell out of it tonight too. We do have some headlines that we want to get to as well, like more news from Everton and things like that. But I don't know if you've been in the social media yesterday. It was a lot of people fansplaining, as I like to call it now. That's the new terminology I'm coming out with. Fansplaining, like, do you know what "you'll never walk alone"
you
means?
don't know what it means to love this club.
And then versus people just ridiculously overreacting, like jumping off the bridge and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Why are we the way that we are? Why does this happen after every poor results?
You've got to have something to complain about, I guess. I think with success comes a layer of a lot of new fans, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think there are many newer fans who look at past seasons or look at even video games like FIFA and think that if you don't win every single game, it is a complete and utter failure on everyone's part. Going away to Old Trafford should never be like, hey, we should walk away 3-0. That's never the kind of feeling that we should have going to Old Trafford. I think especially after the FA Cup too, like we should know if there's any club that United wants to derail their hopes of a title chase, it's going to be Liverpool, right? That was the one thing left that they had to play for. There are plenty of YouTubers that I watch for the kind of, they have like the watching circles, and there's some United fans saying that, yeah, our season's pretty much done, but you give me the opportunity to stop Liverpool from winning a title, we take it 10 out of 10 times kind of deal, right? So I think some people just don't understand that these things happen, and we take it for granted how good everything's been, but you just can't win them all. And unfortunately for some people, they do take it harder than others, but some take it way too much and then go online to also talk about it too much. It's okay to be upset, but then some people are just kind of ridiculous about it, man.
See, I think you're giving people a lot of credit there, because I have a lot of, I know, I'm assuming most of us are on the same page here, but like my Facebook profile, like the friends on Facebook has become, half Liverpool people, half, like friends and family kind of thing,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
high school friends, college friends, and stuff like that I use to connect. Like, I use Facebook to reconnect with and stuff. So I have a lot of people like throughout, and some of them are, some of them are back in Liverpool, some of them are here, some of them are like a lot of like OLSC members and stuff like that. And a lot of contacts, obviously, through American Scouser. And I'll be honest, some of the ridiculous overreactions I see are guys that are like, in Liverpool, like born and bred, if you will, like actual Scousers that have been born in the city, been following the city since basically being a baby. kind of a thing. And I almost feel like they have a bigger overreaction. And I don't know if that's because, I mean, I know how you feel about this. Like you're here. I don't know if you were ever like when with Polish rivalries and stuff like that. Like as somebody Turkish, like if I was in Istanbul, right? The Fenerbahce Galatasaray thing would be life and death a lot more.
Yeah.
It's still life and death, but because I'm here, I just don't hear about it. I don't have, I don't get text about it, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Whereas with Liverpool, like I might get more stuff. So, do you think like the games become more important, or it hurts more, it annoys more because now you're gonna hear about it? Kind of.
There's probably a mixture of both of those things. Yeah, and I know. I mean, I feel like I don't want to sit here and generalize and say that it's only all the new fans that it happens. It seems like not yesterday specifically, but over the course of the last few years, a lot of things that come up on social media tend to be in that direction because I feel like in a way people try and overcompensate and try too hard to show everyone they're such a big fan when you don't have to do that. You don't have to go online and fight everyone to show that you're a big fan. I'll believe you, right? But the more you do that, the less I'm going to believe you, kind of deal, because it's just not necessary. But I do think, yeah, there's some truth to living in it and feeling it a bit more than people over here. So I do understand that there's probably a good group of people that you're talking about that have those same reactions that are there just because they now have to they have to do the day to day with it there.
The irony is, like you see these people like fansplaining and saying, like, do you even know what it means? And like this is blah blah blah. This is fandom and stuff like that. And the funny thing is, like, you can click on the dude and you can see his previous posts, like in the group that he did, and half of them are like, "You gotta be shitting me. He's shite. We should sell him," and stuff like that. It's like, not a lot of. It's almost like when people see other people jumping off the ledge, they kind of have to, and kind of like Brian Shelton was saying it earlier. I mean, I think it looks like a bad result. I mean, we finished the broadcast. I think it was Sparky talking about a loss because it felt like a loss, and only because it was a game that we should have easily won. And I think that's why it feels like a bad result. Normally, if I told you a point away at Old Trafford, and you probably wouldn't take that as a bad result,
Yeah.
but just the way it unfolded makes it look like a bad result.
Yeah, because I think when you think about the opportunities in the first half, and that it could have potentially been 3-0 going into halftime, then that does affect the rest of the mood so much. But at the same time, you guys, like, we didn't really have. Okay, I think we were wasteful, but we also didn't challenge Anana at all. Like it was so weird because there was that one shot from Sobo in like the 6th, 7th minute that on his left foot that Onana made a really good save. After that, there really wasn't anything Onana had to do. So it was more of just shooting ourselves in our own foot than it was anything else. One extra pass or a better pass here, a better pass there, and that was it. And I feel like the discourse around the game was like, oh, we had so many shots, we should have scored. Yeah, if you have 30 shots, but only 6 on target, and only one of them needs a good save, that doesn't really matter, right? You still have to be able to put the ball on frame.
And I think that's the thing. I mean, game like yesterday, I don't think it takes. Gustavo was saying Real Madrid or Manchester tomorrow, by the way, on Instagram Live. That's another debate that we got to get into, actually, in terms of like, do we want? I mean, that's the thing they got coming, right? They got tough Champions League games coming, both Arsenal and City, which should kind of help the cause. But going back to like what you're saying, I think like United is like the top in the league, I think, for facing shots, like allowing shots, I should say. So getting a lot of shots was not really like an accomplishment because Sheffield United can get shots against Manchester United. But yeah, like you're saying, it wasn't really that much of like a challenge in that sense. Like we didn't really, I mean, I think I can recall maybe 1 or 2 saves he had. There was one that he was making saves that were not necessarily. So there was one he could have easily caught. It felt like.
Oh yeah, or it was 3 yards wide of the goal, and he was like whoosh,
and then like he just like punched it away further.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, we didn't challenge in that sense, and yeah, just disappointing that we did not get a goal out of. But I mean, here's the thing: this has been a trend, and that's probably more concerning than anything else. That it has been a trend where we have all the possession in the world. But here's the thing: you're still creating chances. I know what you're saying, like the shots are not on target, but you're still creating the chance to take those shots,
Right.
which we could not before, right? If somebody set back, that was our problem. Like we didn't have a shot on goal, we didn't have a shot and stuff like that. Whereas now I feel like we are able to create opportunities and take those shots. It's just not clicking. Do we just need one game where, you're a basketball guy? We always talk about this, like you just got to see one going in and then it just keeps happening.
Maybe, but it's not like. But the weird thing is, it's not like they haven't gone in, because this team has scored the most goals out of any top 5 league club in all competitions, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like they're not scoring either. Granted, a third of them have come in Europa League, and a third of those came in one tie against Sparta. But it's just it's tough, because it's not like there's a big drought that's occurring. And I think there was, maybe I can pull it up here. This was. Someone had shared this, and this, good transition. That's shot conversion this year in the league. And, to have 160 more shots than City, nearly 200 more shots than Arsenal. Arsenal still scored more goals this year than Liverpool has. And it just hurts to see something like this, because you feel if the number percentage was at 10% like City's was. I mean, that's 86
Yeah,
goals.
that's crazy.
That's 86 goals in the league. It's crazy. And so I don't
know.
know.
What's also crazy? That somebody put first position, tooth position, and third position.
I didn't make it. I can't take credit for that, unfortunately.
I got caught on that one. I was
I saw it too. I was like, I hope no one says anything about that. But there you are.
Sparky says for some reason we don't have the ability to win 1-0. That's another thing though, right? I mean, we have not been we don't have a lot of 1-0s, whereas not that I like 1-0s or my cardiologist does, but we had a lot of those 1-0s before where we were like, yeah, we're just gonna, we're gonna hang on, we're gonna buckle down and we're not gonna let them get a goal. I mean, to be fair, the first goal comes out of nowhere. I mean, it's not like they were threatening. It just comes out of nowhere. And then obviously once you give the momentum, you knew there was going to be more. And if that game kept 1-0, you knew towards the last 5-10 minutes they would make another run again, kind of thing. So It's almost like basketball when you start the fourth quarter, right? You're like, there's a run coming. It's just a matter of how long and if we stop it or not.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. And we haven't had a clean sheet since, when was the last time? Forest? Long time ago. I mean, you could look it up right now, because I can't sit here and tell you the last time we had a clean sheet, which I think is, it's a tough thing to go through if you're consistently conceding goals. But
yikes! By the way, Forest,
yeah.
2nd. So it's been over a month since we had a clean sheet.
And this has all been this is in no way trying to attack the defense, because it has been difficult to be part of that defensive line, I'm sure, with the revolving door of injuries, with having your first choice keeper out, Trent's out, Konate's out, Matip's been out for the whole year. Robertson's been out. You've just had to piece and puzzle different players together in that back line, and they're still playing well relatively, right? I mean, it's not like the defense is costing us games, but it's at some point I feel like, I think I said it, maybe I said yesterday in Discord, when you start out, I think we talked about this before, when you have the most points from losing positions, that's not necessarily a good stat.
Yeah.
Because you're losing too much to begin with, right?
Yeah.
And so when we went down 2-1, you have some people like, well, yeah, it's fine. But at the same time, it's like we didn't have to do that. We didn't have to put
Now you got me digging into this hole. And honestly, yeah. So the last one, like I said, was the Forest game. Before that, we had the Chelsea final. That was only like a week before that. That's February 25. To go to the other clean sheet, you have to go back all the way to mid-January against Bournemouth. So we get a couple in January, but yeah, I mean, it has not been a season of a lot of like clean sheets, to be honest with you. Even in Europa and stuff, which those you can kind of give to lack of,
Mentality, just
yeah,
focus.
like you're up 5-0. It is what it
Yeah,
is. You let a goal in. Those are not like big deals and stuff like that. But it's just like nuts that's, yeah, we have not been able to hold them. But I mean, yesterday, it's like you said, it's hard to kind of look at it and uh, blame the defense when you have. I mean, that game at worst should have been like 6-2 or something like that, which we would have easily taken. So I'm hearing this a lot. This is like the second person who put this in the comments that there are rumors of a 3-year deal being offered to Amorim or Amorim. Let's go with
yeah,
Amorim. Amorim sounds easier. Bad timing for all this in this chaos, you think? I realize the people who are doing those are not the guys who are playing and stuff, but there are guys who are playing who are probably reading the same rumors.
yeah. I don't know, but there's always going to be rumors just with social media, right?
Yeah.
I think the tough thing is that there is something here that could have legs, because like we talked about, it can be kind of frustrating. It can be a little nerve wracking not knowing who the manager is that's coming in and not knowing what your place is going to be in the team potentially. And that doesn't just land on fringe players,
Yeah.
right? It lands on guys like Van Dijk and Mo, that we've talked about. So yeah, I mean, if that, so I guess it's up to the club themselves to sort of see where they're at, where the team is at, and if they feel like they need to have an answer. Because if it starts trickling into the locker room and that nervous anxiety starts to show through it, then you're just playing a poor game because of things that you're thinking about that you shouldn't really be thinking about, if you will.
Yeah, and I really think that like the lot of this like not scoring is that too. I mean, anybody who's played the game probably knows there are times where nothing is working, right? Like nothing you do is working. So it's almost like you overthink everything because you're like, I got to be double careful. I must be doing something wrong, kind of a thing. And obviously this is worse if you're a striker, because you're probably taking one extra touch that makes you, lose the opportunity and stuff like that. But even, like I say, I play defense. Even in defense, some of the simple passes you overthink and maybe you hesitate, and maybe that causes it worse, or you kind of waited too long. Like if you're switching play, you kind of like doubting yourself, like, oh, is that going to get intercepted if I don't hit it right and stuff like that? So, well, now it's the second late. So I think we've all been there. And I really think some of the issues we have up top are that. We'll ask Bickler tonight. He's the resident striker. I guess we can ask Galley. He's the resident cherry picker from what he says. So, Sorzi says, can we please let Klopp's seat get cold before we start replacing him? Well, I agree to this. And maybe I just don't like the fact that it is coming as like rumors. But at the same time, I don't want him to start looking or sealing the deal at the end of June either. I kind of like that the plan is in place, people are in place to kind of move on. So the old boss leaves one door and then high five is a new guy walking in. I'm okay with that, but this is not regular business either, right? Like, because so performance is going to get affected.
Yeah.
What do you think, like a signing like this, for example, if that is true and it does like happen, the rumors come out even more this week, is that a plus or a minus, or you think obviously it's different for every player?
Yeah, I wish I could sit here and say that it's a plus in all sense of the word, but I can't. I don't think anyone can sit here and say categorically that it is a plus for every single element of the team, every single player of the team. The only plus that you get is not having any more rumors, right? And if that's the best way to mediate the situation, then that's the best way to mediate the situation. I agree with Brian in the sense that I think I think it's nice to have that done so we stop worrying about it. But I do also think that FSG has an idea of who it's going to be, and they're probably really close to a deal with whoever it is. And it's not like they're waiting until Klopp's gone to be like, all right, let's start looking now, because that would be incredibly naive of them to do, which they don't. They don't do naive things. If anything, we've seen that FSG operates in a way that's much better, especially business wise, than anything that we've seen, right? So they're not going to be doing that. And so I think it's going to come down to a weird mix of maybe like 2 to 3 weeks before, I'd say early May, we have an official deal in place. or late May. I think those are the only two times that I think it would work and make sense the most. Is either a couple weeks before the last game of the season or a couple weeks after last, or about 10 days after the last game of the season. That's kind of my two windows of opportunity there. But I don't know. It doesn't matter for me.
I'm cool either way. Sheldon says this plan. The issue with this is it's almost impossible to be done behind closed doors,
unless
right?
you're FSG, because they've done a lot of good things that haven't come out.
Yes, and then not to mention, like even the club thing didn't come out for months and stuff. But at the same time, now you have other clubs involved, you have other people involved, so you're not going to be able to do it as smoothly as you would if it's like an interior thing and only 3 people know it and stuff like that. So this is going to be very difficult because somebody's going to leak it on that side. So this is going to come out. Along the same time, though, DTH, and I wish you got to throw your name, bro, because I hate to refer to people by their Instagram hashtags. Just throw us a first name so I can refer to you by name. But thanks for chiming in, by the way. We appreciate it, especially on like Instagram Live, where we have the giveaway, by the way, right now. A signed McAllister jersey does not get any better than that. So head on over to the Instagram page to get more details on that. But he says, I think it's a fantastic deal. The players will know what's happening in the summer and we'll put everything on the line for club. We can't wait until the summer. I agree to this in this sense. The new name, is going to make it different for everybody else, right? So if I know the new boss is coming, like it's better to know who the new boss is coming than not know at all and have that uncertainty. I would rather know, it's Joe coming from this side. He's a jackass, so I got to come up with something once this is all done, right? Or, Jack is coming. I really like that guy. Okay, we're set, kind of a thing. So I think in that sense, isn't it better for the players to know what's the end of the tunnel as opposed to just driving in and saying like, if we work all together, we'll come out the other side, kind of an ordeal?
I think for some of them, yeah. But I also think, depending on who the name is, they might not know if that's a good or bad thing for them. Like I'm sure that after Klopp said he was leaving, their agents would be talking about potential managers coming in and then start feeding them the ideas of how that manager's style is or whatever the case might be. But I don't envision that every single player on that squad knows Ruben Amorim's tactics from front to back all the time, right? So I don't know if they particularly know, and it's not like a Ben White situation where the guy says he doesn't watch any football at all, he just plays and that's it. And like, yeah,
football.
He doesn't even know who Sporting is, like, but so some of the guys in Liverpool, I'm sure they're aware of the name, but that doesn't mean that they know if it's good or bad, because they might not have any context for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Sergi says, to play devil's advocate, a new manager may bring a fresh change, new voice, fresh vision. I think that's the thing. Tactics-wise, I'm all for it. It's just the human part of Klopp is the harder part to replace. I think that's where, honestly, like my worry is we'll be able to replace the same qualities that he brings as like the fatherly figure and stuff like that. Otherwise, tactics-wise, yeah, it will be like a fresh change and everything like that. And yeah, I know what you mean. Some players might be like, oh, yeah, I fit in the system. And then the dude shows up and be like, yeah, you don't. You think you do, but you don't.
Oh, that was really cute. Nice. Yeah. I'll see you in 2 years.
But at least I think I don't know. I'm trying to put myself in that situation. I think I would rather know as a player what the next step is, as opposed to not know what the next step is at all and have like, it's better to have a rumor and a deal done in place and get the name official and know exactly what's happening and then tell your agent, hey, I'm going to focus on this. You do that and you let me know, kind of a deal, as opposed to not knowing and then constantly reading different rumors. Like I would rather know for sure than, because the rumors are going to be there either way, because media has to get clicks and stuff like that. So there's going to be post. So that's going to be there. You can't stop that. The only way to stop that is sign the official guy.
Yeah, that's right.
But of course, then the rumors are going to be, Amorim says, we'll move Trent to striker.
There's going to be headlines of, oh, look at how he used this guy in this system. And now player X in Liverpool has no place in the team, or player Y has no place in the team. And then that picks up a little bit of steam because of some people just sharing it randomly for the heck of it. and then it comes across the player's phone or whatever the case might be, and then you put seeds of doubt into their heads, and then that translates to on the field. So at the end of everything we're saying, guys, everything is going to impact them one way or another. So what's the point? What are we even doing this for at all? Just close everything. Just become like a fan of Bristol City or something. I don't know. This is too much.
See, Dylan says, let's not forget we wanted Dylan, by the way, is the name. We got the name.
Yeah.
Dylan says, let's not forget that we wanted Xavi, but the Sporting Magician is in his 30s and taken to their first league title in years. I really think in some ways, I don't even know if he wanted Xavi. I mean, I just, we assumed, I think everybody in the world assumed it seemed so natural and stuff like that. I just don't know if he was not an ex-player, the Xavi name would be as well supported as it had been.
Right. It wouldn't have been up at anyone's top lists.
Ryan says, my nightmare is us waiting until July to find the right coach. Yes, exactly. And then, then we get the guy and then he's like, oh, well, I didn't want these guys. Who signed this guy and stuff like that?
Hasn't that been Klopp's problem though? Aren't we getting rid of that problem? Because Klopp has been the voice of saying not the right fit, not the right guy.
I think that's like what he likes saying, kind of like cool. I think that's him just saying, we wait till the right move and stuff like that. I mean, the thing is, you want to get the new guy in place. So there is some communication already, especially as you approach players and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm all for it. If the rumor is right, I'm all for the name too. I've seen like a lot of stuff. I watched a lot of stuff about him in terms of like tactics and formation and stuff. Well, first of all, I don't want that shit going to waste. Second of all, I don't want, I want it sealed and done so we don't have Ryan's nightmares. I kind of agree to that, especially when you have when you're involving signing players and stuff like that, or even selling players and stuff like that. So, I mean, this dude might come in and say, yeah, that guy just does not fit, or, this is the guy I really want and stuff like that. So, then we burn through 2 coaches to maybe find the right person, says Ryan. Let's hope not.
If there's anything this club does, they don't burn through coaches. Maybe for better or for worse. They'll just stick through, even if it's rough. They'll stick through it. Give them more time than they probably should, because it's not a club that burns through coaches like others do.
Speaking of others and those who burn through coaches, Everton gets 2 points. I don't even know. Do they have like a dartboard or is there a wheel over there they're spinning to determine these point deductions? I don't know how that shit even works. You know what? That looks like a 2-pointer to me. His foot was on the line.
All of this makes no sense. And I wish I could sit here and intelligently talk about it, but I can't if I don't understand the system. It doesn't. There's no consistency to it. It's like VAR. There's no consistency to it. We don't know what's going to happen. And at any point, they're like, all right, this is what we're saying. And then this is that. And let's go from there. It's just, if anything, Everton is the luckiest club in the world for it to happen this year. Because if this happened last year or the year before, obviously it would have been different because the actual charges in place are for like a rolling 3-year period, so it would have been maybe a little bit different. But to have 3 teams as bad as they have been this year gives Everton such a good chance to stay up. And I hope that they are 1 point clear of safety on that final day, and they need a result. And they batter Arsenal to hell.
Like, that's the last week?
That's Everton, Everton at Arsenal, last game of the week.
Ooh, that would be.
It could get spicy. Yeah, I wish it was at Goodison. It's not. It's at the Emirates, but it is a potential juicy tie at the end of the year.
Dylan says it's like the refs; they've gotten worse since VAR. They're looking at replays like Stevie Wonder. I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one using and abusing the name of Stevie Wonder when it comes to refereeing.
Low hanging fruit.
It is low hanging, but be that as it may. Okay, so let me show this then. So this is how we are looking now, I think, after the point deduction. So that makes things interesting for Luton Town. But I think someone in the comments was saying that they are. I mean, 2 points seems low. You would think the second offense in one
There's a double jeopardy
season should
rule.
be more, right?
There's a double jeopardy rule or something like that. It just doesn't make sense. That's why I don't know what to say. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
I don't
I
think they know it. I mean, it's one of those where it can't be explained. I'm not a religious person, but I know like whenever I had like questions and like I got kicked out of a lot of religion classes in high school because we had religion classes back home, and I got kicked out a lot. And I honestly it was more enthusiasm, not enthusiasm. Um, Curiosity, let's say, not
yeah,
enthusiasm, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
would ask questions, and it's always like, "Oh, the system is so complicated that we can't even explain it," kind of a thing. I'm like, "Yeah, that's not. I don't understand this because it was just like a religion
It's
teacher who
lazy.
was just like going through the book instead of providing like actual insights into things." But yeah, I feel like it's like that. It's like, yeah, it's such a complicated system. You guys are not going to understand it out there, but this is what we're doing in our high calculations. We came up with two, and who's to say they're not going to appeal it and get it down to one?
Right. Or maybe this was because they are appealing it, right? So where does this go from here? And I don't think the standings they put up, I don't think that accounted for the 2 points yet. I
It is
don't
not.
I don't think so. I think what will happen is that they're now tied.
Oh, they will be. That will be juicy.
Yeah, I don't know if I can't put it back up on the screen. I don't know why.
That was a huge game this week, by the way. Them against Burnley.
Yeah. So I think they would be on the same amount of points as Luton and Forest. I'm pretty sure, unless I'm wrong. Because hold on, so 9 wins, 27 points, 8 draws, 37 points. They were deducted how many to begin with?
It was 6 down to 4, right?
6 down to 4, so that takes down to 33. Dude, I don't know. This is they were on 29 points. Okay, sorry. Thanks, Brian. Yeah. Okay, maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
Yeah, so they were on 29. Because
Okay.
I was going to say, when I looked, I did see, because when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, 2 points. Then I realized it was already, because I think it's applied, then they appeal it. So it was the 6 points applied first. Then they appealed it and got 2 points back. Jay Sid has started following us. Thank you, sir. Join the gang. Definitely, obviously, on the Instagram side of things for the giveaway. Definitely throw your name and hats in there. But head on over to the YouTube side as well. So that's not all our content, even though we do most of it. I think like 80% of our shows are live, to be honest. But some of them are recorded, so those do only show up on the YouTube channel as well. So, yeah, that's the thing. I think not understanding, similar to the VAR over here. You got a graphic going over here, so I'm gonna pop this in so you can. Okay, so this is what we got left.
Right.
Looking at that, see the Tottenham game. Is that the last game, or is that to be determined? There's no date.
To be determined. It's
Okay.
probably going to be it could be between the Wolves and Fulham game. It just depends on obviously the Champions League, but
I hate to say it. Aside from that, the City schedule looks good. I'm glad we're still ahead of City, and we do not need them to lose points. Because I really think I look at that Arsenal schedule, and aside from seeing Arteta's annoying face, by far the most annoying out of the three people in there, like not even close. There are a lot more challenging games. Like I know Chelsea is shit, but it's a London derby and it's going to be a total different thing. And Chelsea will love to get trip off Arsenal, just like United will love to kind of like trip us up yesterday.
Well,
so
and Spurs tripping up Arsenal away. Spurs at home to damage Arsenal's title hopes. Like there's nothing sweeter for a Spurs fan in that moment than that game right there. And I think that's going to be the biggest game for Arsenal if they can get over that. I mean, maybe even before that, they might drop some points. And that's what I said yesterday on the Discord. I think looking at City's run-in, it does look fairly manageable and easy in terms of City. However, I said I do think all three clubs still drop points before the end of the season. It's just a matter of who they drop them to and where that comes. And that I'm not sure of. But
I just can't find more games. Like if you look at the schedules, and if I told you, like there are certain games I'm not expecting, like Luton home City. I'm not going to even get my hopes up. Okay,
No.
let's do a hopes up gauge, if you will.
Okay. Good
Right,
woman.
getting your hopes up gauge. How many? I mean, I look at that Arsenal schedule, and aside from Bournemouth at home, and based on Everton's situation, I guess in last week, I get my hope up for every single one of those fixtures.
Yes, I agree.
Right. So you come to us, I mean, hopes down, I guess, hopes down gauge, or the nerve gauge. I see the Everton away.
Yeah.
Yes, I know because it's a derby, and Villa away are the two games I'm worried about probably the most. I feel like Tottenham home will be more of a revenge game, and there will be an extra motivation for that one, which should help us.
And the play style suits us much better playing
Yeah,
against them than it does against
if we
Everton.
can finish, I guess. Yes.
Yeah, maybe we find the finishing boots by then. I don't know. Trent will be back. He'll be playing a new position. He'll be playing the Liverpool 10, where he's literally on every side of the pitch, wherever he wants to be all the time, and he gets to do what he wants.
So it just says Everton, West Ham, and Villa away are
I
nervy
think
games.
West Ham is a slippery, tricky one. I think I do agree.
I do agree with that. Dylan says only game I see City dropping points is the Spurs game, and yeah, let's get to the hope meter there.
Yeah,
I actually think Forest away would be a game that I would be like,
the crowd's going to be into that one.
The crowd, I mean, they're back in the loop. In 3 weeks, they're still going to be right in there in the danger zone, not safe, not still in the hole. That's a tough game. That is a tough game, I think. I would be worried if we were going away to Forest, for example.
Yeah, because we've played like shit
Well,
against.
that's beside the point. You know what? Ryan says Trent will be the floater. Do not get me started. It's been already, a grumpy morning. Don't get me started on Trent. Get his butt back to right back. Stick him out wide. If Trent was there yesterday, Kazi kept saying in the post-match too, there was so much space. Some balls that, like Bradley and Gomez could not locate. I tell you, Trent locates those, and not only that, he sees a couple more that those guys did not even see, and we couldn't even see because of our angle on TV and stuff like that. So I do think it will come out, but more importantly, honestly, yesterday, if we needed one guy, I would say it would be Jota.
Yeah, for the finishing, and that's going to be the thing is, maybe we shouldn't worry too much about the run-in, because as long as you win every game. And if Arsenal wins every game, if you just score 2 more goals than Arsenal every single game, and the goal differential comes down, it's that easy, you guys. Don't worry about it. It's only the goal differential is only what, 7, 8, 10, 9,
9. 9 with how many games to go?
7.
That's like 1 goal a game, man.
Yeah, 1.5, right? Some you do 2, you win by 2, or win by 2 more than Arsenal does, and some you win by 1 more than Arsenal does. It's that easy. What are we worried about?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you can just like knock down 4 or 5 against Palace. Of course, I like how we're like knocking down goals where we couldn't just finish 1 to get us across the line yesterday. And it's like we did actually. We got 2 goals yesterday. That's another thing. It feels like we didn't score yesterday. Because based on the opportunities we had or the possession we had, the ratio was so low. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's doable. But this league is not going to be won, I think, on goal differential. Do you?
It could. It very well could. I mean, I think it. No, probably not. I think if City was also on 71 points, I think goal differential would be that it would be 1 in goal differential. But I do think the winner ultimately will have 1 or 2 points ahead of the other. I think that's where it ends. I don't know.
City are in the raffle to pick up the points donated by Everton. That's another thing. God knows what. Yeah, so he says Manchester City will get max points. Because I think we kind of had a tough time finding games in the hope meter there. The good news is we don't have to necessarily worry about them. We can even. The only point is like I hate the fact that it's a 1 point thing, because that would mean like on a weekday draw we would lose, and that's only the way to get 1 point. And yeah, the draws are annoying to see, like Dylan says. But here's the thing. Dylan was saying we concede far too many. That's our problem. I think more than what we conceded. The issue has been Arsenal has won some of these games. They had like back to back to back. That's when they opened up the scab. They won 3-0, 4-0, 5-0.
They won
While we were dipping it out,
6-5.
trying to come back and prove that we're mentality monsters and
Yeah.
letting in early goals instead of kind of like what they did, and they kind of like cruised to. I mean, it wasn't against like tough opponents, but they kind of blew them out as opposed to we were trying to give them the lead and see if we can come back and playing our own little games.
Yep.
And I think that's what hurts us in the long run more than anything else. But
They had that 3-period stretch where I think they scored 16 goals in 3 games. And it was a 6-0, 5-0, 5-0, something like that, or 6-0, 5-0, 5-1. But that's still so big for the goal differential in that moment. And they've just proved that, I feel like there's parts of it is just, this team sometimes plays down to their competition. And we've seen that over the years, unfortunately.
yeah.
It's just, it's difficult to understand why all the time, but it's just the
The
reality
weird
of it.
thing is, like this year has been kind of the opposite. We've had to
Right.
come back. We've given them leads, but at least we've gotten the 3 points off of them. But now we're not getting those points against the top 6, top 7, or whatever. And that's, I think, like the has been the bigger issue this year. So this is an interesting point. Our friend Nick is back in action. Almost be better off tanking Europa. That schedule will likely result in more drop points. The Thursday game factor. I mean, and it's not like Europa is like you're walking through the park and scoring goals, just like hands in your pockets. We're kind of like making it look like there's a huge difference. Obviously, there's a huge difference compared to playing like Real Madrid or somebody like that.
Yeah.
But what do you say to that? If it was a guarantee, if Nick could tell me, hey, you tank Europa, you win the league, I think I'm taking that. But there is no
100%.
guarantee. And honestly, it's the more likely of the ones that you can win, I think. So I think I do want the Europa. Ryan wants the Europa. Do you want to? Would you care for some Europa?
I would care for some Europa if it doesn't derail the title as the league as well. But I mean, there is. It's hard to say. Like if you said, if you were given the ultimatum, like do you, as a guarantee, you win Europa or you win the league, then pretty much most of us will go with the league, right? But I do feel like it's still a competition that should be won, and given that it's so 7 games to go, almost top of the league minus the goal differential, it's one of those things where it makes sense to just go for both. It really does.
Juve says was not our time, but it was interesting. I'm assuming he's referring to the game yesterday. Nick says, could you fault Clough for going all in on the league? But I don't know about like tanking, but I think you rotate more in Europa thinking of the weekend as opposed to the other way around. Not tanking in the sense that you don't start anybody and send the kids out there. I don't know, but like I guess depends on what Nick's definition of tanking is. If you roll the dice more on Europa, let's say, as opposed to the league, I'm all for that. Like, do play. That's why, play Kwanzaa in. I'm nothing against Kwanzaa. I should have probably now everybody's gonna do Kwanzaa bashing. Not to bash him, but I'm saying, like do the Kwanzaa and the Bradley and stuff in Europa, and do the Trent and Konate and stuff, for example, in the Premier League.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that, right? I mean, we want rotation that side as opposed to play the kids is what I meant by tanking Harvey. And see, I'm not all for this Harvey Curtis and a bunch of kids thing. Like, I still want. And here's another thing: isn't it a good opportunity? We were talking about this earlier. Got to see them go in to kind of like go to Atalanta, for example, that get 3-4 goals and be like, God damn it, man, we can score. Just gotta relax, for example.
Yeah, it could. It very well could. Or it could frustrate even more if you have those same chances go haywire against a team like Atalanta, and then come back in the weekend, go, well, shit, we can finish in the week. I wonder if we can finish this weekend as well. But I think there is something to be said. We've talked about it before too, and we talked about it last year, especially when Arsenal got kicked out of Europe. They started playing poorer because they had so much time to just focus on one fixture all the time, and they didn't have the consistent playing that it almost hurt them. And you can argue one way or the other. We don't know until it actually happens whether it would hurt or not. But I think part of this club being good is that, yeah, I mean, you run the legs off of everyone, but you're in that constant emotion of playing 2 games a week. And if you take one of those games out of the equation, does it hurt the following game because of the lack of play time? Not lack, because the players are playing, but it's just the consistency of games. And I think it just depends on the team whether they react positively or poorly to that. Because that's why Brian was saying something about City and Arsenal in the Champions League. They make it both to the semifinals. They play against each other. That's great. But potentially, if they both get knocked out of Champions League, I wouldn't mind not seeing either one of them have a chance to win the Champions League this year either, right? Because the worst thing that could happen for me is having City go through against Madrid, then play against Arsenal, beat them, and then also win the league at the end, and then end up with a Champions League title, right? Like that would be awful to watch.
Yeah, that was Why would you even put that in the universe?
Because it's
he says Szoboszlai in Europe, Trent in midfield with Endo Mecca. Behave is all I gotta say. Don't get me started. Just behave. It's almost the end of the show here. Let's not get going on Trent's midfield conversation. Nick says, regardless, this team clearly can't finish consistently without Jota, so maybe tanking the Europa wouldn't solve anything. Talk myself out of it. See, that's what we're here for, Nick. We just help you think more clearly. Yeah, I don't even know, because you're right. I thought last season, the moment Arsenal left Europa, I kind of took that as, oh, now they're going to be able to focus on the league. This actually helps them. And like you said, it kind of backfired. And I don't know if that was because it's Arsenal and they were more likely to bottle against City. They didn't know what they were going against. Sadly, we know what to go against City feels like, where they don't drop points and stuff like that. But I think this is kind of like a different team. And I think right now, especially as people come back, it's almost better to be in Europe in some ways. I realize the Thursday game thing, but I think it's important to get people minutes constantly. And get Jones more minutes, because he did not look like himself yesterday. It looked bad.
And Trent, right? I mean, Trent's not going to be able to come in right away into into a league game. So yeah, it's, if anything, it serves as a nice way to at least get some guys some minutes. If you happen to win the tie as well, great. But if you happen to lose the tie, you got what you needed out of it, hopefully, in the sense that you got some guys with some minutes and you had some guys finish and then kind of see the goal more openly now. And I don't even think it's seeing the goal more openly. It's just seeing the teammates more openly, right? I think a big thing was just, it's not the finishing. It's the decision right before the finish. I think that is really most frustrating, because you have these opportunities, 4-on-2s, these 5-on-2s, these 4-on-1s.
Yeah.
And it's not the shot. It's always the decision before the shot. And the shot just then happens to be a byproduct of a bad decision. So I don't think it's the finishing part of it. Yes, the finishing could be better, but also the decision-making at the end has to be much better. Like Darwin rolls.
But I think that kind of goes together though, right? Like it's almost like you're overthinking things as opposed to the flow. And I think it goes, like Dylan says, we're still in transition. Also, people forget that. I noticed, especially in midfield, once Elliott and Jones came in, even though Jones didn't have a great game, you see the ball movement, and the ball is going more to, I mean, we watched this specific team very closely for a long time now. So we almost know where the ball should go, what the natural movement and stuff is. You see that flowing a lot better. Szoboszlai is probably technically a better player than all, but not as effective, because I feel like, I think maybe you were mentioning in the Discord channel that he has that like Hungary syndrome, or what he had in Leipzig, where he feels like he should be making something happen.
He has to make it happen.
Just put the ball in front of the other dude, make him, make things happen and stuff like that. And I think maybe every player, we have too many players that feel like they have to be the ones to make the difference, to win the game and stuff. And that's when shit goes downhill.
Yeah. And I think, if his shot in the 7th or 8th minute, whatever it was, it goes in, like, I think that game does finish 4, 5, 6-0 potentially, because you open that up in the first 7 minutes and all of a sudden that's it. But yeah, it's frustrating. And yeah, I think I did mention that with him feeling like he has to be the guy that creates something, because in his head, he has always been that guy. that has been the pivotal one piece that has made everything go. And especially on a team like Hungary, where you are the captain at such a young age too, that you feel the weight of the responsibility there. It translates into the club level, and you kind of forget that 10 guys around you are that, and some of them have been there much longer than you, can play that just as good if you're all playing the same way. But Sir Z mentioning Mo was pretty bad, right? And Mo
Yeah.
has been pretty bad. And I think one of the annoying things with the social media, like we were talking about earlier, is that like people think that you can't have, it has to be one or the other, right? You can't have like you can't. I think someone mentioned that, hey, like let's just get over, let's move on with it. And then someone mentioned Mo having a bad game, and like, no, Mo didn't have a bad game. Like you can have both things, right? You can be disappointed and also say Mo had a bad game. And
Yeah.
I think Nick is absolutely right. And I've said this in the Discord maybe like years and years. Mo has that similar problem that happens all the time. And I think part of it, it's almost like in the, I like to call it the Jota syndrome, where he can be invisible for a good part of the game, score a goal or two, and be man of the match, but everyone just then forgets everything else that he did, like all the bad stuff that happened during the game. And I think Mo has been the beneficiary of that sometimes, is that he has a rough game, but he's able to bang in a penalty or something, and all of a sudden he's at the top of the list of, oh, he's had the best game of everyone, and everyone just forgets everything else he's done.
Yeah. Nick says Mo is a volume scorer. I don't necessarily think, I don't know, his conversion rate, I know a couple of years ago was ridiculously up there. It was like him and Lewandowski, your boy from Poland. Well, he doesn't do it in Poland, but anyway, so
You don't have
he
to
was
rub
doing
that
it,
in. By God, yeah, international level Lewandowski is
but
not
he
the
was
same.
doing it like, and they were like really high percentage at the time. I think he's more, reminds me of more like a shooting guard in basketball. Hopefully, for a guy who really ever does basketball stuff, too many basketball analogies by me today, but like a shooting guard where like sometimes, he does have the short-term memory. He keeps chugging them, right? But and then sometimes once one falls, he gets hot. I mean, I always go back to that 5-0 game against United of all games. I think that was the away fixture, right?
Mhm.
That fourth goal, I think he scores. If that happens today, Mo is not taking a first timer on that one. He's taking a touch, trying to like dance around a little bit, then
Yeah.
shooting. But when Mo gets in that mode where it's one that the only natural looking shot he took yesterday, I thought was the one timer he did. It didn't curve enough, and Onana saved it. And it was a shot. It was one of the few shots on goal, but that was the only one I felt like it was in the natural flow of play, as opposed to, but like going back to that goal, the ball is like bouncing towards them and he hits it one shot to the corner and done. But
Yes.
I think that's kind of like a confidence thing, and I think he's kind of like in that mode. Imagine Suarez or even Sturridge with the same. I can't even imagine Sturridge with the same number of opportunities because he wouldn't be fit for that long. First of all, but Suarez, yes, and I think Jota, right? I mean, if he gets into those situations, and I think Mo. I'm almost seeing like Mo yesterday trying to create way too much for like Nunez. Like they had that chemistry going, but it's almost like sometimes forcing things, and it goes back to the confidence thing. So maybe this Thursday game will help us regain some of that confidence. I'm sure there'll be some rotation in that game, but it will be nice to Jota equals Sturridge.
I don't hate that.
Is that
I
fair
I
on
don't.
Jota? I guess availability wise, it is slightly, but I
I
find
think
it hard to say because when Jota gets injured, like we see him get injured, right? We're like, holy shit. And then he gets injured. Like the tackles he's gotten injured with. Whereas Sturridge would always be, as Klopp likes called, he got a knock during the game. Like you always found out afterwards, it felt like with Sturridge. Or maybe I'm just remembering this wrong.
See, I thought it was more so Jota equals Sturridge in the sense that they're both really good finishers, not the best with link up play kind of
Oh,
deal.
I think he meant like availability, but
I mean, it
I
could
mean, he
be.
was electric. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
love Sturridge, but he is still to date one of the few players that Klopp has called out, uh, saying he does not play unless he is, 110% fit. Um, Don't understand the negativity around Salah. People are quick to forget how many times Salah has single-handedly saved us and won us games.
Because he makes $500,000 a week, and then the one chance that falls on his right foot 6 yards out from the box, he sails it into the 40th row. That's why people are being negative. Like I understand Mo has been incredible for this club, and he deserves all the plaudits. That doesn't mean that he can get away with those kinds of misses. If that was Nunez, the dude would be crucified on every single page of every single social media outlet. But because it's Mo and he's earned the misses, then we don't say anything. It's not like I get that you can earn the misses, but that doesn't allow you to always miss then at those moments. I think that shot, particularly for me, had to have been on target. It has to be on target.
Yeah, I mean, you earn the misses. I get that. But I know I can't get away with making shitty jokes at home because I cracked the wife up a couple of times with good ones. I get abused. So, I mean, that's that's kind of like how it goes at this household. So, I mean, yeah, how many times has he done it? And that's another thing. Like, usually he has done it a lot. One thing that you can say about Mo is he has scored in big games. He's just not a guy who shows up and scores the 4th and 5th goal against like Bournemouth or something like that. I mean, I find it hard to pick on just Mo, but at the same time, I think you should be able to call out when he is poor. And just because he did well in the past, I'm not one of these guys that says sell him today, blah, 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 because he missed it. But at the same time, it should be okay to call out somebody and say he's not playing well and he should take those chances if we're saying it to Nunez. I mean, you should be able to evaluate performances regardless of what they've done in the past. I think he has earned those misses, but I mean, how many misses do you earn? Because really, he has not fired as Mo as we know it as. And I know like money has nothing to do with it. I understand that, but at the same time, yes, he's okay. I can. The toxicity is insane, but I think there's a difference between being toxic and criticizing.
Like, what have people been saying about Mo that has been more toxic than criticism? I guess is my question, because I haven't seen that. I've just seen normal criticism. We've been talking about selling Mo for 3 years.
But like now, like the debate is over.
This was the moment.
Yes, I saw a lot of that yesterday.
Well, then
now we're done.
Yeah, that's well, in that case, then maybe that's if that's the final nail in the coffin, whatever.
But at the same time, when you see these performances, isn't it more of a debate of the extension? Do you want to give somebody an extension? I mean, topic for another day, but it has to come into conversation of, do you give somebody an extension and these wages if they're not producing? Because you can't be like, you earned this, man, because it doesn't work like that. FSG definitely doesn't work like that.
Yeah. That's a tough one.
And Dylan says having no trend for his vision attacking wise a massive miss. He slips Nunez, Mo, and Diaz through every week. But then again, they would miss it, so there's that. But I know what he's saying, especially on the right-hand side. I think having Trent would have helped.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, Mo is still the top goal scorer in this team, right? So he's still scoring goals. But I guess the litmus test for me yesterday, and I'm not saying sell Mo, I'm saying I understand if Mo goes this summer for different reasons. But the litmus test for me yesterday was when that penalty occurred and there was a debate, maybe not as strongly as some people think there was a debate, but in my head I was going, I want McAllister to take this. And when Mo took the ball, I was actually more nervous at that point than I'd ever been for any Mo penalty. And I think that was the moment where I thought, I shouldn't be this nervous for a Mo penalty. Like this, if anything, I should know this is going in 100%. So for me, it was really difficult for my brain to cope with the fact that, like, dude, I can't even trust Mo to take a penalty anymore. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, depending. I was the same way actually. I was hoping McAllister would take it. I was almost happy afterwards that Mo took it, but obviously, 2020 kind of a deal. Obviously, once it goes in, yeah, great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was kind of worried too. The only thing going for us was Onana always goes to the wrong side. So as he says, Alisson has made blunders, but I would give him a 5-year extension. That's not the same thing.
His prime is also much low. Ellison can play for another 8 years and be fine as a
Yeah.
keeper. Mo, we don't know. Some of his pace is gone. He doesn't take players off the ball like he used to. And so now he's has to really rely on his runs and his finishing. And if the runs aren't there and the finishing's not there like it used to be, it's not as easy of a conversation to have anymore because it's not the same thing.
And really depends on like who the new guy is, what the plan is, right? The new guy might come in and say, you know what? Yeah, I want Mo because I would play him here and stuff like that. What's that?
Cole Palmer. just to get the people riled up even more.
You know what I mean? Like what his plan is and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, aging winger and an experienced goalkeeper are definitely not the same thing. Cedric says, big up, just found us. There's always the so-called fans that every game they pick someone to play and there's something obviously going wrong, which has to be worked out. And that's the thing, I look at that game yesterday. I really find it hard to say it's Kwanzaa's fault. It's, because it was just like we didn't even play bad, just had to. If we take a couple of those chances, I honestly would tell you that we played better yesterday than we played in that 7-0 game. As far as play goes.
Klopp would say the same thing. I think he said the same thing, right?
These
last two United games, Liverpool has played better against United than any other game, he said. And I think he does talk about that 7-0 a lot in the sense of we didn't play that well.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, and so the first goal comes in like the 38th minute, and then there's 6 goals in the second half. But it's just like every single thing we touched was gold at that point, and just happened to go in. But yeah,
yesterday, if we take those chances and the game is 4-1 or something like that, everybody is probably like, "Oh, we played great, went to Old Trafford and smashed them and stuff like that." Nobody's being that critical, so we're all like being result critical. There we go. Sergi says, "I blame Gravenberg." I know he just sat there, just nothing, no impression, wasn't really engaged.
I think a thing that we should take a look at for Kwanzaa specifically is how well he reacted after the mistake. Because being that young and having that kind of mistake, there's a good chance that you could have capitulated on the field and not been able to bounce back from that. But he did bounce back from that mistake. And I think that's really important to look at, is that you have to, it's really cliche, but it's not about the mistakes. It's about how you react to the mistakes. And I think it's a good sign when you see someone like Jarell Kwanzaa at the age that he is, that he's able to be like, all right, well, it happened. We just move on. It is what it is. Keep going, kind of deal. And then Kobe Mainoo scores a worldly of a goal. I mean, those are the two all that United needed. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think we're being too harsh, but just wait till tonight's podcast at 7:00 Central, 8:00 Eastern, where I'll be hosting Bickler and Gally, and Gally and I at least spilled some of our guts in the post match, but Bickler only messaged a few times, so God knows what we'll get. But yeah, I find it hard to be too down. It's just disappointing, but just because you're disappointed, you should not just go around and sell everybody and cuss everybody out and stuff like that. That's why the post match is great. Actually, it's good therapy over here.
Yeah, it's still a point at Old Trafford at the end of the day, right? I think before the start of the season, every season, if you say you can get a point at Old Trafford, you will take that every time.
Yes, it's just the way you got the point.
Right, I understand. Yeah, and it's
still gonna hurt. Damn it!
We've seen draws hurt this team in the past. When it comes to the end of the year, with the points situation. But nonetheless, 7 games to go. A lot can still happen. What I love to see is that in the YouTube sphere, with some of these content creators or whatever the case may be. 2 months ago, after every week, it's like, who insert team here, title contenders, and then the next week, insert team here. Did they lose the title? And then the following week, insert team here, title contenders. It's like, well, yeah, it's gonna change. It's gonna keep changing, and I hate that shit. So,
To be
but
honest, you can't even blame like just the YouTube people because like you
no,
go
I guess,
on
yeah,
like
yeah,
Sky Sports and stuff like that. They're like, "Well, now it's curving towards them." It's like, yeah, I mean, whoever is on top is the favorites. Can we just agree on this regardless and just move on? Because obviously they have the front seat. But it's Monday, so it's grooming day at the Mateusz household. Who is getting groomed?
no one today.
No one is getting groomed.
Today's the day off. We're like I said, we're gonna wait until we can see the eclipse and burn our eyes out. So that's the goal for everyone.
Replay showed he dived.
What?
What?
No, I mean,
Okay, you don't. I mean, there's a difference between. Man, don't get me started, Sir Z. There's a difference between diving and getting out of the way before the contact happens. I mean,
right.
you don't have to get like shots to feel the pain. You're better off just like, I mean,
Like,
yeah, it's Van Bissaka slide tackling as always. Yes.
And he knew when he did it too afterwards. He knew. Like, do you want Elliott to try and jump over that challenge? Right. And this is, I mean, we could go for another hour, obviously, but it goes back to the sense of the game of the reason why some players embellish is that if you try and play through it, you don't get the call, whether it's a foul or not. So why would you even then take the chance to play through it? There was contact. There absolutely was contact.
There was contact, and we're gonna go for another hour if we get into this. But this contact, not enough contact, too much contact. Like I don't understand this whole thing, and that's why I don't know if you're in a game and you're there, you want that call. And honestly, they did not even complain a whole lot, and like I don't even think it was really a debate. I think to finish that debate, I can tell you, even my brother, who's a United fan, did not complain about that. And he said that's a stupid tackle. And kind of like Dylan says, it was reckless. And thanks to our sponsors, Reckless Coffee Roasters, by the way. Thanks for Dylan throwing that in there. But yes, it was a reckless tackle. You don't slide there because that's what's going to happen. Minimal contact, somebody's going to take it. I'm only basically baiting for you to slide there. And most defenders, except Van Bissaka, who hasn't seen a slide tackle he hasn't liked ever, would do it. So, but on that note, we will wrap up today. I'll be back tonight with the gang at 7:00 Central, 8:00 Eastern. Thanks to all those commenting. Do give us a like, subscribe, share with the friends. I always say this: we don't do clickbait stuff. We don't do the title contender. We don't do that. So we rely on you guys to grab somebody else by the ear and say, hey, go watch these guys. Thanks to Reckless Coffee Roasters, as always. Thank you, Mateusz. And I hope you guys enjoy the week. Relax. Everything is going to be fine until you hear Bickler tonight, and then we'll go back to Doom's World. But until then, enjoy your Monday, enjoy your week, and we'll see you guys tonight. Take care.